All right, so let's call this meeting to order. It looks like we have a quorum. Everyone should have the agenda and minutes. If you don't, I have a couple more copies here. So first thing we'll need is someone to make a motion to approve the agenda. Or if there are any additions or corrections to it. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. And with the motion, we have a second. Second. Thank you. Moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor? Was there any questions, comments?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Yeah, Julia's an aye as well. Cheryl did have to step away for a moment.
All right, next thing then is your minutes, and those are attached to your agenda or down at the bottom if you're following along online.
And I,
Big deal, but my last name's 2 R's.
oh, it's 2 R's. It is a big deal.
It is, it's spelled out right. There we go.
Okay,
Okay. And I did go through and do some corrections. Oh, never mind. Don't worry about me. Just as far as spelling, except for Sonia's name, which is not done.
any other additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, I'll take a motion to accept the minutes as corrected with Sonia's last name spelled correctly.
So moved. Julia Aker.
Thank you, Julia. Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? I think that was in favor, not in opposed. Okay,
Yes, it was an aye.
all righty. Ruth, take it away.
Okay. Sorry, and I'm gonna be fighting with the cursor this entire time.
You want a mouse?
Welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's what you want. Sorry. There's one mouse. I got one right here.
Yes, I would like one. So we have been interviewing for Bob Jackson's replacement, and actually had an interview this morning. And we'll have a decision by the end of this week. And so there's that. Then an ongoing issue that we have been working with, I'm not, yeah, that's it, right.
First, I put it upside down.
Of course, it's USB. I didn't go in the second, but-
At least once.
Okay. Is so of course we provide telephone notifications through Evergreen, Indiana. And our provider has been Indiana Telecom, who is a sub-provider. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. A reseller of AT&T stuff. So we were up for a contract renewal, and they had some things in the contract that needed to be revisited. And so we got an extension on that, and we're looking for more extension, more information, and found out that they're not going to be supporting the technology that we use anymore. And we found this out in June. So I put just a little summary in this slide of what's going on. In June, we found out that they're not going to be supporting the technology that we use to deliver approximately 1,500 notifications every day. They first told us that it was going to end in October, which was kind of a manageable timeline. And then they informed us, I believe it was in July, that the date was September. So contracting it from, of course, the beginning of when we started the investigation to when the end product needed to be in place, whatever we were going to do. So we have been hustling is just the nicest way to put that. We've been working with Niles Ingalls, who previously was at Hussey Mayfield and set up the original telephony for Evergreen, Indiana. And also then with Lumen Technologies, which is another service provider similar to Indiana Telecom, but bigger. And so we had a meeting, actually yesterday we had another meeting to put more and more rush on we have a solution to actually be put into place. Now it's just a matter of all the timing for it. there may actually be a disruption in a telephone notification. So, and we'll know more in the next week or so. As soon as we know, we'll let all the libraries know, so that you can let your patrons know what that would be, because Indiana Telecom is going to shut us off on September the 6th.
Oh.
Right, it's not unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, what you gonna do? I mean, I know what I'd like to do, but. So that's what we have as far as that goes. I will say Nancy Disbro is coming in. And then I did not update this slide, by the way. I was actually looking at the minutes and saying, that's the one slide I did not update. We do have, I believe now, 2 more libraries that have gone fine-free. Also, Newcastle is on the books to be going fine-free. I believe that's September the 1st. Yeah. And I also think that that's completely fine-free. You were previously juvenile fine-free and will be going to. So that is exciting. We have not had any new auto renewal libraries. I think I probably need to put a push out there again. I think that libraries may have forgotten that it's an opt-in kind of thing. So, or they may legitimately just not want to do it, but.
And it's awesome.
Yes. I mean, anything that makes patrons happier and makes staff have to do less work, and.
It's such a good interim step to going fine-free, because
Oh, yeah.
we collected so much more money, then it was like, why are we doing this at all?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. So that is essentially what I have for the state library report. I know that's a little bit light in terms of what we generally do, but are there any questions about anything? And Jake is of course here as well. If you have any questions about the state library. If not, I can go on. Okay, next is the fiscal report, and I actually just updated this today. Everything is in line, and you can access this through the online version of the agenda. We are, actually those pass-throughs are not completely accurate right now, but they will be pretty soon. I went ahead and in here you can see where we're actually at in terms of our appropriations. We have spent a lot of money on support services right now, with that, the interim step with Lynn leaving, Jeremy taking on the MIS supervisor, and Evergreen Indiana System Administration, and our contracts with Equinox. There is a new person coming in to fill Jeremy's old position. That's going to alleviate some time and capacity constraints so that he can focus more of his energy on learning aspects of Evergreen, but we have contracts through the end of the year with Equinox, and this balance reflects that. So there should not be a whole lot more to pay for from them. They are providing third-tier support for us in case we can't actually resolve certain ticketing things that come through, but we haven't had to use it very much. And that was a comment that they made, that we haven't used it very often. And when we do use it, it's usually a pretty easy fix. So it doesn't take a lot of time. It is time-based. So that's why this is significantly more, but we do have room in the overall budget to accommodate that. So here then you can see what we have expended. And I'm not sure exactly why this balance is like that. I think I need to go back and recalculate that. That's inaccurate, because that is not what this minus this actually equals. And then so we are right at 62% that we have expended. We are anticipating getting a pretty large bill for the Marchive renewal. Of course, we get cover our from Marchive, along with authorities and things like that. So that would be this OPAC enhancement service is both Marchive and Novelist Plus. So that is where we're at on that. Any questions about the financials?
Do we have any big expenses? I know we talked about the Gale stuff you recently, is that already been accounted for?
It has not been accounted for.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that will be down in here.
Okay.
And I'm not sure why Chilton is not in here. I'm gonna have to go in and figure that out. So that will likely be more interesting. What a great time to notice that it's not in there. Yeah. So I'll have to track that down, but no, those invoices have not been paid yet, but the renewals have been done. Any other, I guess I should leave it on here. Any other questions about the financials?
Is there a list talking about all the e-content? Is there a list someplace of all the stuff that we could purchase or?
It's a
opt
pretty
in?
short list, yeah. Right now, it's Gale courses. It used to include RDA toolkit. The short answer is, I think that there is a list. I think I put one on the website, but I don't remember offhand.
I know one time I tried to look at look for the list, I didn't see it, so I was.
There can be a list yes, very easily there can be a list. Which will be in the minutes, and I will then remember that I need to do that.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Noted.
And then, so as far as training goes, I'm just gonna do the first bit, and then we're gonna let Britta get her feet wet on providing this report. We do have 5 regional user groups that have been scheduled. I do have them actually on the agenda, and I believe I have the dates on there. Okay, good, and the location. So I'm pretty happy with the distribution of where they're going to occur. We did have 2 other libraries that had submitted proposals, and so we're going to keep them in the wings. Just very good quality and timely submissions. So I'm really grateful for that.
And are you wanting like members of the executive committee to attend
Yes.
as many as they could? Don't let me, I'm off the executive committee.
No, but you're basically grandfather to come to every committee.
But you are hoping that members of the executive committee can attend, and he's definitely the one closest to them, and possibly 1 or 2 more.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm also trying to find my. Okay. Nancy said that she may need to step away for patrons. I know. What do you think this is, a library? Okay, so, and then Britta, I will let you go ahead and with the author. I'll let Britta go ahead and talk about what she's been doing.
So we have had our reports interest group and our cataloging interest groups. We had 1 person attend 4 reports and 8 for the cataloging interest group. And right now my project is working on the asynchronous courses. I am focusing on cataloging. So right now I am doing the basic cataloging, and my hope and my schedule is to have a go live date of that on September 6th. And then once I request testing from the cataloging committee, I'm going to start working on the advanced cataloging course, because that'll be the next one to come out.
And Britta has been in, I'm going to say all of the training sessions that I did in July. We did do a full round of Evergreen fundamental skills. So she participated in all of those and was very helpful. Also, I'm really glad to have a catalog for doing cataloging training. I can bust my way through it, but nobody wants it. Not anymore. Okay, on to the development report. Some of you heard I was on a phone call with Adam Bowling right before the meeting started to change a meeting we were supposed to have today at 3:30 because I just don't think I can do that time schedule. But we are in the final stages, finally, of finishing the change holds type project. I did ask him to scale it back a little bit because I wanted a deliverable. And so it's going to be the ability to change between title, copy, parts, and another hold type that's escaping me right now. There's 4 of them. Anyway, 4 holds type that we run into often. And so the one that it is excluding is meta holds right now, and that's going to be something that I think needs to be an additional development project. I'm not sure that it needs to be within this. It's been a long time coming, so we need that. The other thing on here, and I did not put it on as an action item. Actually, I think I did initially. A meta hold, yes, a meta hold, if you are placing holds from the grouped catalog results. Instead of, if you do it from when you group that page, you press that place holds, it then brings you to a page to place what's called a meta hold.
And you can pick which type format you can want from.
Yep,
the
language, quantity, all of those things. It's kind of cool. It's a little convoluted. I think it's actually very cool, but very I thought that might, oh no, that's the one that we are excluding from there, from this project right now, because of how convoluted it was. So yeah. They're also, what we are also doing is we are working with Equinox to do a bug fix on some other things that have specifically been an issue in Evergreen, Indiana. The first is, and this is going to work in conjunction with the change holds type, is to have the ability to disable title level holds on records that have parts assigned to them. We have seen a lot of issues with hopeless holds that are not actually being addressed at libraries, and they can be difficult to actually recognize that they are hopeless at that point because they don't show up on the hopeless holds interface, because there may actually be something that theoretically could fill that hold. The other part of this project has to do with the little label that's in the place holds interface where it says all parts, which is very disingenuous for my perspective because it's literally like no parts. So it would then give the ability, it's going to create a new library setting that does these things. I don't want to go all the way into there. It can define what that label actually says. But this is of course scalable, and you're welcome to look at these specifications. We already have it in the budget to do this development, and so we're going to do the development so that we can start getting these holds that have to do with parts flowing better, because they are until they're not, and that it's a big pain point, really more for circulation staff and for patrons than anybody else. So, and then we do have an ongoing conversation with Missouri Evergreen having to do with a reporting dashboard. Let me in here real quickly. So this has been a very slow conversation. Missouri Evergreen is just kind of getting their administrative team stabilized. And so it's new to them. They have a contract coordinator who is part-time, but they are aspiring to be a more mature consortium similar to us. And this is something that was proposed by Equinox, something that the ECBI did not pick up, something that Evergreen, Indiana has historically been very interested in, for those kind of more basic reports, a graphical representation of what's going on with the library system, whether it be circulation, patron, whatever. And so we are hoping to come to some type of agreement with them for that to be developed. But they're young in terms of being a consortium, so it may take a little bit of time. Any questions about any of those things? These are Evergreen, Indiana specific development projects as opposed to EDI, which I also didn't update this slide, but I'm going to tell you a story about it. So, yeah. So for ECBI, we just finished yesterday, and I did share, I might have sung a little song. We finished testing for the fourth sprint of the Angular acquisitions project, which is the purchase order and line item port component of it. If you don't use acquisitions, that doesn't mean anything to you, but if you do use that, that is an amazing thing. And it is just a really great new interfaces, functionality. I'm very excited for our members who do use acquisitions to get their hands on these tools that have been upgraded. We also have a contract that we'll be voting on Thursday for what is called Sprint A, which is actually Sprint 5-6, because we had those, they relooked at them, and that has to do with a bunch of other cleanup things. And so we're on the home stretch for Angular acquisitions. I'm also working on bundling the project priorities that were voted on so that we can go out and get some people to build some stuff for us. The focus that I have kind of uncovered going through this and thinking about all of those things have to do with holds. Holds is a big deal, whether it be hourly holds, hopeless holds, which has development, but other ways to manage that. Also the OPAC and some aspects of the OPAC. One of the things that I am particularly excited about has to do with APIs, which is really the least interesting thing ever if you are talking about end user out on the floor in a library. But the most exciting thing ever if you're talking about integrating third-party services. And that really is, that is the way libraries are going, which you know, this is literally preaching to the choir. There are so many different things that other organizations are providing that enhance the experience for both library employees and patrons, and facilitate that relationship as well, that we need to make our tools for connecting the database more functional. So that is another big priority for the ECBI. And also blank screens, my apologies. And look, there's another one. I looked at these slides, I swear I did, even updated. Okay, next is cataloging committee, and I know that we have Monica here if she has anything to say. There she is.
No, we had I don't have much. The cataloging committee hasn't met since the last time the EC did, so not a whole lot's happened. We haven't had any votes or anything via email. About the only thing that I thought might be worth mentioning, Ruth, is if you wanted to talk about the Porter County records.
Which part of it?
Well,
So, okay, well, this is
the
a thing that
on-order
happened.
records, the on-order records.
This is a thing that happened and something that we are working through again. Some of you may or may not be aware that Baker and Taylor's ordering broke. Their EDI ordering, which is automatic ordering that goes through acquisitions. It broke in the middle of June. And so there was no ordering by those libraries using acquisitions and through Baker and Taylor's automatic process for 2 weeks. And then it came back online. I mean, through process and much consternation and weeping and gnashing of teeth. And so then a bunch of orders went through. And Porter County during that time, they had put on hold all of their back order ordering. But when they came back online, they had all these orders for older things. And for whatever reason, we haven't actually tracked down the reason, their records didn't merge. It was likely a tick box in their import. And so it created duplicate records again. And so and these were actually meaningful duplicate records because they actually had to do with things that they had ordered, but they were again duplicate records. So the unfortunate part is last time we were able to just get rid of those because they were old and we got rid of like 50,000 holdings records for on order holdings records. These were actually real ones. So now it is a matter of merging all of those records and identifying that. They've been working really diligently on it. I've done some manual merging. And it is an ongoing project. The other thing with Porter County has to do with their serialized monographs. So whether it be manga or also in their serialized AV. So if they're TV series. And prior to coming to Evergreen, they would have one MARC record and they would have then multiple ISBNs so that they had this kind of master record for the TV series. And then all the things, well, doesn't work real well if you have all of the records that we have in Evergreen, Indiana, and then expecting their patrons to place hold on their one thing so they are working and we're working with them to actually have all of those holdings transferred to Evergreen, Indiana records off of those serial records. So that has been an ongoing project as well. I will tell you, they are machines when it comes to doing this work, but it is very high volume work. So it still seems kind of slow, but they're also very good at figuring out how to not keep doing it into the future. So it really is kind of this snapshot, something didn't work. And this is procedural stuff. It's not that the software itself didn't work. And so I have been as often as possible saying, okay, this is a workflow that can make it go this much faster. Let me get it started for you. And so I think we're not good, but we're on the way to goodness.
Well,
yeah,
I would say, Ruth, that as far as the first thing you talked about, the on-order records and duplicates, you or they or whoever seems to have been making a lot of progress because I've seen a lot fewer duplicate records in the last few weeks or so.
They were mortified when it happened, and of course, from my standpoint, I'm like, let's all go with pitchforks to Baker and Taylor, because that really is where it started. It wasn't Evergreen, it wasn't Porter County, it was all of these things. And it seriously was probably just a tick box in the import interface, and it was thousands of records. So it wasn't like 5. It was thousands, but they have actually gotten some additional Cat 2s working on that task very specifically. So they're very good at being responsive in terms of those high volume tasks. So
Great. Thank you for summarizing that.
I feel like I just told an entire story. Was it a good summary? Thank you.
But that's all that I think that's all the cataloging committee has to say right now.
And then the next meeting will be on the 1st, and we'll have a new cataloging committee member on that day as well. Okay, e-content.
That's about summary right there. We haven't had a lot of action.
Right.
I mean, we're looking at a demo of library of Q, and that's gonna be open to all.
It is.
Libraries, correct?
Mhm.
Library of Q is wooing us, wanting us to buy their product. I actually think it's pretty cool. I think they know you've been talking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, actually. I think
We're
I'm
letting
gonna
them
look
woo
into
us.
Yeah, but I honestly want to buy it regardless of what the consortium, I'll probably wait till the new year. I told our Jeff that.
Yeah,
Anyway, we're gonna demo, they're offering some consortium level pricing, so we're gonna have a demo for any libraries who are interested in learning what library IQ can do for you. Basically, it's like it makes Evergreen reporting a whole lot easier, a lot of hand reports. I know. Especially in terms of the collection, and where I thought looked useful was just like some collection analysis tool as far as being able to say, hey, you've got way too many cookbooks and you need more self-help books or whatever. It's very granular where you can break it down with specific doing numbers or just do the 200s, whatever. So
it does demographics too.
it does
Yeah.
demographics. It does some things too about, I think it had like a mapping kind of tool, like showing you where your patrons are, which to me is really helpful because I can see where my patrons aren't. So things like that. So
And it's an all-in-one kind of thing. I
Yeah.
know that there have been some other, like collection HQ or things like that, like different pieces, but this is a kind of nice
yeah.
all-in-one thing. The demo is going to be on August the 31st at 11 a.m. And I just got an email from him prior to this meeting that I couldn't respond to, but I'll send that out. More information in the Evergreen updates.
It's not as expensive as HQ.
No.
It's not HQ. We looked at that way back when, and it seemed to be an incredible tool, but it also seemed like there was a huge learning curve.
I was gonna say, yeah.
And you had to do a ton of configuration, where this looks like it's just a layer on top of Evergreen and has all these canned reports. And it looked a whole lot simpler to me.
So the first demo is going to be on the 31st, and then there are going to be some follow-up demos after that are topic specific. So one that has to do with patron information and one that has to do with collection analysis and development. So, and those are going to happen in the first 2 weeks of September.
And that, can you talk more about the relationship between Evergreen, Indiana and Library IQ? Are you talking about buying it for the libraries or?
It will likely be an opt-in.
It'll be an opt-in,
Yeah.
but they're offering like a consortium pricing. Yeah, for us to, it was something insane.
$250,000.
Yeah, that's what I thought for everybody.
You can't afford that.
No, but there would be like a discounted consortium level.
Right.
pricing, so.
So libraries come in and then have to pay that.
We would have a pass-through for it, similar to some of our other pass-throughs. Yeah.
Someone.
And so the next meeting for this is actually not that date. That has been changed. It is going to be on the 9th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wednesday.
That's correct. This is in the heart of ILF annual, so we're not doing that. As I was telling e-contact committee, I literally made that date up and put it places, and then they actually voted on it. Because there was not another date. Okay. Patron Services Committee. And I think that would be Sherry. who is not here today, but is there anybody from Patron Services that wants to say anything? It's been a hot second since we met. I believe it was June. And there was but we have met since then. I think there was a circulation modifier that was added to 3. One was updated, one was added. We may, however, be looking at adding another one. Because there is not an equipment limited access. CD limited access. Yes. So nothing to filter out mature ratings on CDs. Strategic Plan Committee. Nancy, do you want to say anything about that? We haven't met. And we should determine when we are meeting next. Scott is not here today. He is the other person on it, and I believe Sonia as well. So I'm not entirely sure if I'm the one to prod people, but I guess I'm good at prodding, so I'll prod people unless somebody else wants to do the prodding. Hearing nobody volunteer. Prod. All right. And that is subcommittees and state library. So we don't have any unfinished business on the agenda, but is there anything that you can think of? Cool. Okay. The exciting part. We have a new member application. This is from Lowell Public Library. They are in Lake County, Indiana. They have previously been sharing an ILF with Lake County Public Library using Polaris, which is an interesting relationship. They are the same county that Whiting is in, so right up there in Chicagoland. They have the 11,000 cardholders. That is a flexible number because of the relationship that they've had with Lake County. There has been definitely some bleeding of edges in their service populations, but this is the 2010 population service area of 20,000 plus individuals. They have about 90,000 holdings. Again, we're still kind of determining the accuracy of that because of that relationship between them and Lake County. They have listed on their application that they have 77,000 bibliographic records. Generally, and this is 3-branch location, generally we would see a much different ratio between bib records and holdings, but I think that probably is because of the very, very flexible nature of how they were circulating with Lake County Public Library. It's a very fluid kind of relationship where they are just now discovering what they actually have.
It's going to be an interesting migration if you're trying to break out a portion of records from Lake County.
Well, they're paying money. They're paying money to Polaris to do that.
Okay.
So it is actually an additional expense for them to pull that data. We are working with the system administrator from Lake County Public Library to actually be part of the migration team. So they have graciously added him into.
So is Whiting the other?
Whiting.
Evergreen, that's it in Lake County.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, cool.
That's great.
Yeah, and so we have these tentative dates on here. They're not particularly tentative. They are what really needs to happen. So we'll begin the data migration, the final data migration, the one that matters to all of you and all the libraries on Friday, December the 2nd. We anticipate it being, and that will be in the morning of Friday, because we need to start that during business hours because Polaris doesn't care about us working over the weekend. So it will likely be we always like to say that it's gonna be 3 days for data migration. It will be a modified cataloging freeze. Nobody needs to shut their libraries down. Nobody needs to do any of those things except for Lowell is going to be in offline mode during that time. They don't know it yet, but that's gonna happen. And then they will do their public launch on December the 6th. Anybody that wants to go up to the far northwest corner of Indiana is welcome. Yeah, it's December, early December though, so it'll basically be July.
October.
Yeah. With you raining incessantly.
I'm just curious, I mean, what is their current relationship with the rest of Lake County? Do they have like a reciprocal borrower agreement?
They have a lot of reciprocal borrowing agreements within Lake County.
And how is that going to affect, like, will we be getting Lake County users who are not rural? Which we all could, I suppose. I mean, I'm just curious.
That falls into that 11,000 cardholders, and we'll be definitely figuring that out. We've had conversations, and they very proactively, which was very nice, have started to make that line between the library systems much bolder and less permeable. And I don't remember offhand if they are part of the statewide reciprocal agreement. But they know that their reciprocal agreements are going to now all of a sudden be meaningful. As opposed to, oh, we have this agreement with Lake County, but we're doing this anyway, blah, blah, blah. They've already started that process. So. And Lake County has been very encouraging of them. The reason, this is actually a pretty short turnaround for us as a young migration team. It's gonna be fine, everything's great. But if it went past December 31st, they would have to pay for another contract year to Lake County. Which, and they pay some like extra fee monthly, like number of transactions or something like that. So, so if it goes even beyond December 6th, they'll still be paying that monthly thing for December. They don't want to, and I don't blame them.
All right. So do we have to vote on that?
Yes, so I have the application here. I have signed it, but the committee needs to vote to accept it. And then by the end of the meeting, we need to sign it.
Okay. So is there any more questions or concerns about welcoming Lowell Public Library into the fold?
I anticipate this being not easy, but significantly less complicated than our last migration. That was a bit of trial by fire. This will be like, oh, we know how to build a fire now. So,
I move that we accept Lowell's application as a new member of Evergreen, Indiana. I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. Is there any more questions or discussion? Doesn't sound like it. All in favor of accepting Lowell Public Library's application to Evergreen, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carried.
I'm going to pass this over to you. It's actually on the page. Okay. All right. So we've had committee elections and they have been completed. These are our new members to each of those committees. We did have one individual who was going to be joining patron services and actually left their job there. So it was Lizzie Flora from Shelby County. So, but based on the constituency, I keep saying constitution with, which is a real word, but it's not that we don't need to actually have another election for patron services for that. We'll just wait till the next time. So, so we have here today, Winnie Logan, Brandy is here as well, and Lori, who is previously on patron services, and Jan from Montezuma. and we're excited to have new members. Jennifer will be going off the committee, Krista will be going off the committee, Scott will be going off the committee, and there's another person who I don't remember. It's Nancy.
yeah, don't forget Nancy.
I do remember you as a human being, but,
Nancy's.
which means that there will be also be an opening on the strategic planning committee.
And do we elect officers
Next meeting, next meeting, yeah.
Can I just say that Greensburg, Decatur County is like a township?
Is it not, it's county? Okay, I will fix that.
It's Greensburg, Decatur County contractual
Oh, that's right.
public library.
That's where I got the county from.
Yeah. It's a very long.
It is. I will fix that.
We would very much like to not have that contractual part, but
I agree with you.
little things. That's all.
If you ever need me to come to a meeting or anything, just let me know.
But that's no,
Absolutely.
it's crazy the whole county.
Oh, I was gonna say the whole county. Yeah. I've been in the county like that before.
Farm country, and that's why I was late today, because, you know, they had a farm thing on. They were, I don't know what they were doing, they weren't doing anything, but anyway.
So I don't know that we need to do anything, for these election results, other than at the end of this meeting, the, exiting members will have exited, and the new members will be members in true and ready to go for the next meeting, when there will be then elections. So, and then you can see the other committee election results. Okay, go to the next item on there. Again, there's not really action here unless you want there to be action. But please represent the user group meeting that will be happening. I'm pretty excited. They've previously been called regional roundtables. The reasoning for changing that name is that roundtable has a specific meaning when it comes to certification. And so we didn't want that to hamper people in getting LEU. So we're calling it something different, and this is an industry standard term, so we're going to do that. Unless somebody doesn't like it, and then we can call it something else. Party at the library. Call me whatever you want, except just make sure I get LEUs. Okay, we have been talking about the membership fee tier expansion. There is an interest form that has circulated. We've gotten a lot of response. I believe 20 individuals have responded to participating in the interest group, working group through the interest form. Just a couple of things to keep in mind. Tiers 1, this has to do with the membership fee tier structure. Tiers 1 through 7 are going to be unaffected. So those that have the lower evaluated operating expenditure will not be affected. Tiers 8 and 9 are highly encouraged. Representatives from those libraries are highly encouraged to participate to, first of all, make sure that any questions that they have are addressed, that any suggestions that they have are included. And I don't know what more to add to that other than please participate. Right now, the membership fee tier structure stops at tier 9, and it's just kind of this non-ending thing that goes on, and so there's no cap to it. So then there will be a cap to that with additional tiers on top to accommodate those libraries that have an evaluated annual operating expenditure that's higher than $2 million. Just a point for the evaluated annual operating expense. It is the lesser of two things. It is the lesser of last year's operating expenditures or the average of the last 5 years operating expenditures. It is not based on the budget, and it is not based on population. So the reason that was selected by the executive committee back in the day was it is a more accurate picture of what the library is actually able to spend money on for their general operations. So it doesn't take into account rainy day or LRF or anything like that either. This is exclusively operating expenditures. And then the goal of additional monies raised are going to be to augment staffing for Evergreen, Indiana. We have definitely felt the pinch as the consortium gets bigger, but the staff does not get larger, providing support and moving forward in that. And then also to provide support specifically for the way that those third-party services are integrated, because it does require a lot of time on the phone, a lot of work in the software, all sorts of things. And so it's staff and then also software. So the goal for that additional revenue would be to focus on those things, not those exclusively, but those being the real focus for that. Questions, comments? The form closes on Friday, and then everybody who has submitted to that will receive an email so that we can schedule a first meeting.
How many libraries are in tier 8 and 9?
Tier 9, there's 9-ish.
Yeah, there's not very many.
It's not a lot.
Okay.
Let's say 8 or 9.
I'm gonna.
Sorry, were you thinking in your head? I knew someone was going to ask that.
I wasn't thinking that, but I have access to it because I just uploaded this yesterday.
I was just curious.
So I'm gonna have to go convolute it. I have 2 drives, so I have to go through one to get to the other one, which is ridiculous. And I can share this. I will definitely be sharing it with the working group, but also the executive committee. Actually, it's not right. There is a thing in there, but it's not the right thing. This is projects and then membership calculation. So one of the things, this is an extravagantly large thing. Let me see if I actually have the number of libraries in that tier here. No, I don't. Is that when doing this, I actually included all public libraries in Indiana. So it's not just Evergreen. Evergreen, Indiana is, of course, the priority, but if you go down, if there are libraries who are interested in this, that way it's a quick reference for that as well. But, and I'm in a weird view here.
I have the list right here.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the tier 9. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay.
So it's Fulton, Greenwood, Hudson, Mayfield, Jackson County, Morgan County, Newcastle, Newburgh, Chandler, Plainfield, and Porter.
Okay.
And they're very different from one another, from the bottom to the top.
I don't have that.
I actually do have that here. This is in here.
I was just trying to get a scope of like how many this actually impacts.
Yeah, all the tier 9s definitely, and then were there any tier 8s that were like tiered, like if they went just a little higher, I think they would be pushed. Yeah, they would be pushed.
Well, no, so there was not any of that. There was one library, because one of the things that I did for this proposed, where everything that the work that I have is proposed, it's definitely not, is that the step from 7 to 8 and the step from 8 to 9, they didn't make sense in terms of, because And so I made it make sense, which bumps tier 8 up. And so it was very easy to explain the logic for that, but not very easy to convince them that it was something that they would like. But it's, I guess, the best way to say that. So tier 8 is going to be 11. According to this right here, so. I'm sorry, 12, and then tier 9, 10 in there, so. This has fluctuated since the thing that Krista was reading, so this is more of a range, yeah.
I just didn't have a picture in my mind of how many did that equal versus
Yes.
1 through 7. So.
Not a huge number, but an important number. Yeah. And more than anything, it's not, our current membership, of course, is going to be impacted, but this is also to put Evergreen, Indiana positioned to accommodate larger libraries joining later, so that we can make sure that we can support them appropriately. And we are talking to at least one larger library right now, that we anticipate with 75% assurance we'll be looking to join next year in 2023. And we don't also want to be disingenuous accidentally when we say this is how much this costs. And then all of a sudden, we were lucky with Porter County because they understood that the amount that they were quoted was ridiculously low. And so they have been advocating for this reevaluation, so that it is more in line with what it should be, whatever what it should be is. But that way we will be in position to tell people good information when they have questions about joining Evergreen, Indiana, and provide support.
Exactly.
So,
Thank you.
And I would also say, speaking as one of the larger libraries, it is a bargain that we've been getting, crazy bargain. And I don't need more for paying our share.
and it will still be a bargain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it will still be, yeah.
I know looking at the levels, it's still, because I know when before we migrated, we were paying over $30,000 a year, and that was.
Yeah, it'd be a lot more now.
So, and then basically we raise 10% each year, so I'm, and if you wanted anything new added, it was also at least $4,000.
I would say you would have to pay for that.
Every year, it wasn't just a one-time fee. You
Oh,
want that module, that's gonna be another $4,000 a year. It's always $4,000. No matter what.
how much does it cost?
$4,000.
Let's start there.
Which is also, I think, one of the very nice things about Evergreen, Indiana, Evergreen ILS, is that if it's available to you to use. There aren't like extra things. Now there may be some timeliness things for like fixes or additional features or things like that, that maybe a little bit longer than some proprietary software. Kind of, it depends. They fall in a different schedule that kind of meets in the middle, but everything is available to everyone, whether they use it or not, completely different. So there really, again, there isn't anything to vote on for this right now, but I did want to definitely make sure that if there were questions, again, from the executive committee, you had an opportunity to ask them, and that everybody that needs to be or wants to be involved in the working group has the opportunity to do so. And I anticipate the first working group will actually be before the end of August. But maybe not. I might be too optimistic. It'll be in September, maybe. Okay. This is just to let you know that I did talk about this with e-content, that I'm continuing investigation of discovery layers for Evergreen, Indiana. This little thing up here at the top is a link to an article about what is a discovery layer if you're not familiar with them. It's an older article, but it's pretty concise in its explanation. These are the three that we've been investigating, and my plan is to, first of all, there's going to be some demonstrations, hopefully, between now and the end of November of each of these. And that will be for the e-content committee. Of course, those are open meetings and we'll make that available, but then have the results ready to present at the December executive committee meeting. I'm not in charge, number one. And I say that because what I say next is going to sound like I think that I'm in charge. But I'm not, and I know that. One of the things that you have all experienced in your libraries is that the face of the library to the public needs to be better. Our OPAT needs to be better. It needs to be more modern. It needs to meet patrons who are used to shopping on Amazon and doing searches in Google. It needs to meet them just a little bit closer to that experience. Never going to be those things. But there are products, discovery layers, that can ease that patron engagement. And so that is one of the reasons that I have been investigating it, and I am investigating it in a serious way as a deployment for the entire consortium. Does that sound possible?
No.
Okay, good. It feels really bossy. It's kind of like, we need this, I'm gonna explore it. So they're not cheap. Just FYI, we're looking at between $60,000 and $100,000 a year. So for consortium, yeah. I have the language between that side and this, definitely of the line if you work.
Like, we could put that.
Yeah. So not very shady, but yeah, that is one of my goals. So the next thing on here is I would like to ask for a change of date for the October meeting for no other reason than I'm on vacation, and it is a specific event that I can't change because I'm not in charge of the world. You will not be, okay.
I will not be able to be on the 18th.
Are there better dates? And does it have to be on a Tuesday?
I was gonna say the 18th this week, we have like 3 meetings that day.
As far as I'm concerned, it does not have to be on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
I will be back on Wednesday. I mean, I will be back on the 12th. I'll just actually be in an airport on the 11th. Unless my flight gets canceled.
I'm just writing it down.
October the 11th.
The week is the 10th. The week of the 17th is the fall break. Yeah.
So what about October the 5th?
That's good. I can't be here. I'm on.
Oh, you're on vacation now.
But that's fine.
Just we're gonna be doing elections that week.
Yeah, you might get elected sometime.
I'm enjoying my Zoom. I'm actually gonna say, I'll be on vacation, but or wherever I am, this for 2 weeks, so I couldn't take it to, you know.
That's up to you. We're not gonna ever.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, if you choose that week, I will see if I can fit it into Zoom. I mean, it's not that long, so it'll be fine.
It sounds like that's gonna be the best.
The 5th?
Seems like.
Okay.
Secretary wrote it down.
Thank you, Secretary.
It's happening.
Sorry.
It can't be changed.
The thing is too, that is a meeting that you don't have to go to. I mean, which for me, that's kind of a nice thing. If there's a meeting I don't have to go to, I'm okay with it.
I need to not be in, you know, the next second one, so, but no, I can see what I can work out. I'm really gonna still be at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, you are allowed that.
And Lori, just FYI, are there any like offices that you don't want to hold?
I
There
feel,
will be elections for secretary and there will be for chair left.
I feel, unprepared for either of those.
I just wanted to make sure that we all know that.
I would not, I have been secretary before, I'm not particularly good at that, I tend to lose my place when I'm taking notes.
Sure.
I'm really interested. So that probably not be a good one for me, but I'm willing to do things.
Sure.
I just would need someone to guide me.
I just want to, all of us to know what we can and cannot do
Yes.
when you, in your presence.
Big chair, multiple times. So the chair-elect position, it just means that you come to the meetings this year, and then the next year, you're the chair of the meeting, and chair of the meeting doing basically what I'm doing
So
here.
basically it was the same thing as doing the patron services committee.
Yeah.
Yes. Running the meeting. It's
Yeah.
not a big deal.
Yeah, someone else does the minutes, group will do the agenda.
Yeah.
Occasionally you get a.
Sometimes I get all the slides updated.
Yeah, it's sometimes that's the light will come to you and people say, hey, can you check these over before the annual meeting?
Right, yes, definitely that.
Or we'll discuss things like, hey, somebody dropped out, we need to replace them right away, they wait for the election, so it's not.
I would like.
It's not an onerous job if anyone. You know, hesitant about it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure somebody else.
I've been chair.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this one under the table has been shared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I've been chair.
Yeah.
Actually, being chair is easier than being the secretary.
I've done the chair of patron services.
I will go
Secretary
ahead
is
and,
the worst.
send
for
the minutes in Word to everyone, and then
Okay.
everyone has the template, and then whoever gets elected will
Yes.
already have it.
Yes.
I know I could put it on Drive, but I have trouble with my library account in Drive, and
No
they don't
worries,
like each other sometimes, so.
no worries, that's fair.
What kind of notification do you need to do to the libraries that we're changing?
I'll put it actually out in the update that I'm gonna send out tomorrow. Yep, and then I'll change it in the calendar. Yep. Maybe today, but definitely tomorrow, probably not today. I really want to actually go home. That's what I want to do. I was it sounded like I was gonna say something very, very profound after that. I literally just want to go home. And drink
That's
something.
everything, so I think all we actually need is a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
All right. And a second,
Second.
all right, I'm great, motion.
Not
All in favor, please rise.